Welcome to episode 4 of Discourse, the proper fourth episode. We just had a nice little Dune conversation. We might have disagreed, but we all came out friends. We all came out understanding each other's perspectives. And I even was saying that maybe we should continue this in the future, doing these little mini episodes. It'll be a lot of fun. But we're here to talk about Avatar Season 2. We had recently talked about Avatar Season 1, Book 1 Water, that is. And I think we had a great conversation with that. I'm glad we picked this. And we're going to go into the nitty-gritty details of this season. But I felt it would be best just to do general impressions. And I'll go down the line and see what everyone has to say about it. But I'll start with my own impressions of it and just like the setting in general. And I feel like this season, I mean, I already love Season 1 so much, but I feel like this is definitely the superior season. This is the one where we really started to get into some darker storylines. Some characters at their darkest moments, I would say. I mean, the changes that some of these characters go through, going from like sometimes at their highest after their great victory after Season 1, and how they're just so downtrodden, they're on the run, they're being hunted. And yeah, they make new friends along the way, but maybe some of these new friends they make along the way, maybe they're not everyone's best friend. Maybe they struggle with that. And we see that with characters like Toph, of course. And we are introduced to a whole bunch of new enemies who are some of the most terrifying, if not some of the best characters in the season. And we also explore a new culture. Whereas in the previous season, we look at the water tribes and kind of analyze their society and how great and flawed they are. We look at the Earth Kingdom and this large continent and how corrupt it is and how the Gain has to circumvent those certain things. But I just have a real appreciation for this series. Really just, hey, no, we're gonna tell some dark, dramatic stories and put our characters into worse situations. Still going to have fun, of course. Still going to have those episodes that are going to make you laugh, but also ones where it's like, yeah, maybe it's not going to work out for everybody. Maybe some characters are even going to die, and they do. And they do in this season. Yeah, they do. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's highly implied. It's highly implied that they die, which is a running gag in Season 3. I mean, it was highly implied that he did. But I love this season. I love for the character arcs. I love the establishment of Katane. I love that. Aim's just like, I love Katara. I thought, oh, it's so adorable, but she's so goddamn aloof with him. She's completely unaware the entire time. She's like, hey, isn't this great? He's like, yeah, Katara. He does no idea. I love Zuko's arc in this film. Or in this particular film, in this particular season, and how he's just trying to find himself. Where he's like, you thought he lost everything in Season 1. Oh, wait until Season 2 when he's at his absolute fucking lowest. And also Aang's just anger and resentment over losing Appa. Like, these are some of those really great moments in the season. And also, I think they just really up the animation. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, the fight choreography and the different places we go to, whether it be in the middle of Ba Sing Se, this massive corrupt metropolis, or even to the swamps of the Earth Kingdom, or even the deserts of the Earth Kingdom. We get some really special and beautiful episodes with some great character development, character arcs, and some dark moments. But I'll start with M. Xavier. What are your general impressions of Book 2, Earth, of Avatar: The Last Airbender?
I absolutely love this season. This was the season that really made me go like, okay, I understand why everyone is like talking about this show, like why everyone's been telling me that I need to watch it. I love the Earth Nation. It introduces two of my favorite characters in the show, probably like 1A and 1B. Mm-hmm. Like you said, the fight choreography is amazing, and that last fight, the season finale, I mean, that's probably one of my favorite fight scenes in anything, live action, animation, whatever. Yeah. Because like we always talk about, with stakes. I don't know if you were going to get into this later, but I really like, the one thing I really liked about this season also is that, and I think they first did it with this season, was that they introduced like subclasses to the Benders, where Like
Mm-hmm.
with the firebenders, they introduced lightning. And then with the I'm sorry, with the firebenders they introduced lightning, and then with the
Yep.
earthbenders they introduced metal benders. And
That's
so I'm
right.
like, oh, that's amazing. So yeah, absolutely love this season. Really like it.
Nice, nice. No, thank you so much for mentioning the sub bending. I forgot to include that in my notes. Yeah, where it's like I love that. It's like, okay, but what about, but can an earthbender control metal? And we now know if you work hard enough, or like, yeah, these different forms of firebending are fascinating. That's what got us thinking, like, okay, what's the alternate, or what's the sub level of water bending or air bending? And we actually learned later on in season 3, at least in regards to water bending. So yeah, it's cool that they're expanding upon their lore. They do a really great job of that. So excellent point to bring that up in regards to the fighting and the bending styles. Cass, what about yourself? Your general impressions of season 2 and the settings and things.
Um, I'm pretty much in agreement with everyone else that, like, I think this season really expands on all the foundation that was laid down by season 1. And like it it's kind of this combination of darkness, but also that little glimmer of hope that
Mm.
even though they weren't able to come out of this, like, they thought that once they got to Bossing Say and talked to the king, everything would be fine, and it didn't turn out that way. But they still managed to overcome, like, these insurmountable odds, and they survive it. And it's just, I guess it's just it's a very powerful season.
Yeah. No, I think it's an emotionally draining season. Like, these characters, like, they lose a lot in these episodes. They're at their weakest moments several times, several points in the series. And they're kind of hanging on by a thread. Just like, whether it be the Gaines dynamic or Zuko and Irish relations, but just Zuko's kind of mental state and his struggle to find out, like, who am I? So I totally agree with you. Jacob, what about yourself? General impressions on season 2 of Avatar?
This season, it's the first time since I watched this since elementary school.
Mhm.
So looking back, rewatching it since then, it felt like I was 6 years old again watching the show, because I love the dynamic between Katara and Aang.
Mhm.
Sokka is basically relegated to be a comedic tool throughout all of these episodes, because he's always in like some weird situation or being disrespected in such a way. One of my favorite characters, Toph,
Mhm.
just has an amazing episode when she was introduced.
Yeah, the blind bandit. Yeah.
Yeah. And like this season, I didn't even like realize this when I was younger, but it does get dark. For a kids show, it gets dark.
Yeah.
And that's like, wow. Like I'm sitting there on my bed watching all these dark moments, and I'm like, this is great storytelling that
Mhm.
I'm experiencing in a while. And it's not much that, like, there's not really much cartoons that has great storytelling, because a lot of them is just, basic. But this one's like, yeah, this deep storytelling there's a lot of great moments to watch from this season, and ultimately I've enjoyed the episodes that I've watched.
I feel like the writers really came into their own with this particular season. It's like they were still trying to figure things out in season 1. What works, what doesn't. For the most part, I think season 1 is still excellent. But this is the one where it's like, okay, we're gonna put our characters through the ringers. They're gonna be in situations which they're unfamiliar with, uncomfortable with, don't know how to circumvent. Like, as Cat's favorite, everything when they get to Bossing Say, think, oh, just talk to the king, all work out. It's like, no, you have to figure out, like, this society and this caste system that exists, and these different rings and layers of Bossing Say, and how it's like, you got to adhere to these rules, and even if you do everything right, it's not going to let you do what you want to do. Like, that's really interesting to me. And so I like that the writers, I feel like Nickelodeon, they saw the success of season 1 and they just said, all right, show us what else you can do. And they kind of gave them, I think, even more free reign, and were able to get a little darker, which I appreciate. Stefan, what about yourself? Your general impressions on season 2 of Avatar?
Yeah, so I mean, I got to go with everybody, and season 2 is aptly named Earth because it's rock solid. Like
The
from
puns.
I
Puns.
don't know. I've been
Nice.
planning
I
that for the
love it.
last week. Uh, but honestly, like, from jump, it puts you in there. It's answering some questions you have, like, yeah, why doesn't Avatar just take out everybody with the Avatar state? And they're like, here's why.
Yep.
And they show you what a true Avatar hunter looks like in Azula.
Mm.
She comes in, and at no point does she ever catch the Avatar, but she manages to still make herself really supplant herself as a villain. Every time you see her, you're scared of her.
You do a great.
And
Yeah. No. Keep going. Keep going.
yeah, and with this season, they cement so many different things. They show the things that Aang needs to learn, even more so. They show the issues that little group that you've grown to love in this first season has to face, and that they're not so simple. They don't just need to defeat the Fire Nation. They need to somehow get together this world that's been through war for 100 years and defeat the Fire Nation. And it goes to show, like, some people don't care.
Yeah.
We've
Some
been fighting
people
this war for
ignore it.
100 years, but they're used to it.
There is no war in Ba Sing Se, as they say.
Oh, no. I mean, why would they care? They're surrounded by huge walls. Why would they care?
You bring up some great points. Like I was going to mention this, and like how the season starts, and I think it's called the Avatar State. I think it's called episode 1, Avatar State, where Aang visits that general and says, "No, you don't need to learn the elements. We're just going to use that Avatar. So we're going to use it as they treat him like a nuclear bomb. They treat him like a weapon of mass destruction,
Which he is.
Which he is. When you think, yeah, he is. And he's like, I mean, if left unchecked, he can indiscriminately kill people. And that just shows you, like, right off the bat, it's already a pretty dark episode. We already got hints at how powerful Aang's Avatar state is, but even in that first episode where they're trying to just push him to do it, he's like, it's not working. And then the generals, I was like, well, I got to go after the person he loves, obviously, which is Katara. And I mean, that one moment, we'll get into more of these because there's so many great scenes in this season. And I'd want to give everyone time to pick their favorites, and we can all have a nice conversation about them. But like when the general is like sucking her down into the ground and seemingly like killing her and suffocating her, and Aang fucking losing it, and like, I'm gonna kill everybody, and like you can just do that, and the general's like, oh shit, and then he brings back Katara. But it takes a while for him to eventually calm down. He sees all the destruction. He's like, oh my god, look what I've done. It's a great moment, and yes, and Azula is scary. She's a character. She's a psychopath. I mean, that's what she is. She's completely insane. There's some characters, and we get a lot of villains in Avatar, and you're like, oh, I turn out to understand. They have this tragic backstories. Like, I understand what you're doing, or just in the world of Avatar. Like when we get to like Korra and Naman, like I get why he's doing what he's doing. It makes sense. But Azula's like, she's insane. She's insane. She has no morals. She's going to do whatever she can to complete her mission. She's going to use anyone that she can. She has quote unquote friends, but are they really her friends? Especially when we get into like how she recruits them. Yes, exactly. Like, and when you get they're just like, there's one episode where it's just called The Chase, and where she's just on their ass, the gang, like for that entire episode, just tracking them down. It's like, we can't fucking sleep because this unrelenting enemy's after us. I love that. I love it. So many great scenes and moments. But no, thank you for bringing some of those up. And we'll talk about more about them in a bit. Chris Harris, about yourself, your general impressions on season 2.
Season 2, I really like it. I like how it adds conflict to the story, both internally with what the characters are going through on their own personal journeys, and externally with the new threats that they're facing, whether it be Azula or like fighting more and more of the Fire Nation, especially that one episode where they have that giant metal dildo drill that's trying to fuck a hole into the wall of Ba Sing Se, stuff like that, and then stuff with Aang and this conflict he has of like, I have to reach the Avatar state in order to fulfill my destiny,
But yeah, it's dangerous, and I can hurt and kill people with it. And in order to reach that state, I have to sacrifice certain things that I don't want to sacrifice, and how that affects him and the group, especially how like the group seems like it's about to fall apart at certain times, especially when they bring in Toph, who's like my favorite new addition of the whole season. She's such a great character. Yeah, I'm really digging this.
There's a lot of, obviously, like you said, exterior conflicts and enemies, but even in the group itself, like the dynamic has changed with the addition of Toph, and yeah, she which I think is cool, that, and this is kind of consistent throughout the entire season. Later on in season 3, it's like, yeah, she gets along pretty well with like someone like Sokka, but like her and Katara don't like each other. They do not, and they're kind of at each other's throats, and the tensions are high because they're so radically different. Like where Katara is this very maternal, very understanding. Some people would say self-righteous individual, and Toph is more of this, laid back, blunt kind of person who is this like, where Katara, she's very much about that positive reinforcement with Aang. Toph's like, just fucking do it. I told you what to do, just do it, and being very aggressive. But I like that. That makes it interesting for us as a viewer.
Watching those scenes reminded me of when I would go on camping trips with people, and we just could not agree on how to do certain things, and so the entire trip was us just screaming at each other the whole time. We have that scene in I think it's the chase episode where Toph and Katara are just arguing about responsibilities and shit. And, like, Toph has this great scream. She goes, "What?" Just at each other's throats. You're right. It feels very real because these characters are so well developed and so well written. Austin, what about yourself, sir? Any thoughts on season 2?
I got a lot. I made some notes.
Point number 1.
All right. It's more like jot notes, but I think firstly, every episode is important. Every episode either ties into something, it comes back later, it foreshadows something, it teaches us about lore or answers kind of questions that the last season sort of lingered.
Yeah, world building too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's surprisingly a lot funnier to see. Like the second episode, you got the secret tunnel song. You get the cactus juice. You get the Tales of Bog Sang, which kind of has some funny moments.
Oh yeah.
The blind bandit has all that kind of wrestling stuff in it, which is all pretty enjoyable, and the water tribe exit.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, it's just I don't know. It's just such a good trip and has like so many kind of twists and turns, and even though it's like I'm kind of rewatching this because it's been so long and I haven't really seen many of these episodes, I really enjoyed it. It felt like kind of like what Thunder Lee said, being a kid, but like thanks to like binging and stuff, there's like so many little things. Like one of the things was the guy who burned down Jet's village. He was one of the Rhino guys who attacked them a couple times in the season.
That's right. It's true.
And the other thing I really like is how Iroh and Zuko's journey kind of mirrors Aang and Katara's and Toph's journey. Kind of this, all of them just trying to get to Ba Sing Se and think that will kind of be the answer to their problems. And the thing, and you really learn. The season really is a lot about Iroh. And in the episode, Zuko is alone, and
great episode.
And so much you kind of see his backstory. You learn about what happened to his son. You learn about what kind of person he was before and why he kind of failed. And you see him as this kind of harmless old man, but who's like, he'll be like, is this tea or is this deadly poison? And but when you find out like, he's part of some organization with these white flowers, and
right.
You kind of, and he has these, and he starts kind of befriending the group with Toph, and they're giving each other advice, and it's just there's so many interlocking things that happen in the season that it's such a great feat of writing that's really hard to put into words.
It's just so much content, and that's like someday I do want to like kind of have because we're gonna we'll do the 3 seasons and maybe even Korra someday, but we'll definitely have like other discussions about Avatar in the future, just about characters and maybe certain episodes, and really go into the nitty gritty details of them. But you bring up a really good point, where it's like a lot of, there's seems to be such a lack of, there's no really filler in this season. Like even when you have like a seemingly filler-esque episode, like Avatar Day, when I think it's before they even have Toph in the group, where they go to that village and actually bring in David Lopan, the Big Trouble in Little China, doing the voice. But it's like where it's not like a celebration of Avatar, it's a celebration of their evil fascist general who tried to fight Avatar Kyoshi years ago. And that episode was just like, oh, it's just like, okay, it's a filler episode. But when you learn about it, it's like, no, it's actually world building because you learn more about Avatar Kyoshi and the Avatar state and just Aang's previous lives. And I think, because, really we've, with the exception of Avatar, what was it, Roku? In season 1, we interacted with, we kind of see more of Aang's other incarnations, which I think is really, really cool. So you're absolutely right in that. I just feel like I'm trying to think, is there a filler episode? And it's like, no. Even the one where we get to Tales of Ba Sing Se, where it's like, hey, this is little short stories about the group, an anthology episode, if you will. It has some of the most emotional scenes in it. And they're all character building, especially in regards to someone like Iroh. And you're right. This because I know even at the top when I was saying, and you guys are making me realize this, talking about it, it's like this is a very dark season and the characters go through so many changes and they're at the lowest point. But you're right, there's some incredibly funny moments. I mean, what a tribe. just exiting with that. The cactus juice. Sokka fucking high. Just like, I was like, is this a Dune reference? Having fucking dreams and visions like Paul Atreides out in the goddamn desert with that sweet, sweet spice. I love it. You're right. There's some really funny moments in
also
this
the
season.
Bear.
Oh yeah, just the bear. But you
It's
mean
just
like
a bear?
Platypus bear? No. It's a bear. Everyone's confused by that because everyone's like, wait a minute, no, it's not a combination animal. That's true. I think that's the only animal in Avatar which is just a singular thing, which is cool. No, you're right.
Probably.
Great point. Oh, was someone going to say something? Okay. Am I still on? I'm still recording. Okay, just want to make sure. Oscar, do you have any other thoughts before I move over to Emily?
Just a little short thing.
Go ahead.
It's so nice that a show is just 20 episodes, but everyone is just 22 minutes. Sick of these hour episodes.
They fit so much within. It's crazy to think about that. Yeah, they're 22 minutes, and there's so much detail and development, and whether it be for characters or the plot in those episodes. Yeah, it's nuts. Yeah, it's 22 minute episodes, and only 20 of them. That's crazy. Good point. Emily, what about yourself? Your thoughts on Avatar Season 2?
I thought Season 2 was really great since shit just popped the fuck off, especially towards the end.
Yes. Absolutely. Crossroads of
she's
Destiny.
Insane. It's crazy to me that she's the same age as Katara and she's just that mentally unhinged. I think I argue that she's scarier than the Fire Lord.
Oh, she is. I agree with you. No, she gets more development because Ozai. I mean, he's the big bad eventually, but we spend more time with Azula, and voiced, by the way, terrifically by what's her name? Gray DeLise at the time. Her name was Gray Griffin. So I agree with you. Any other thoughts on the season, though?
I noticed in the season 2 finale that Katara's first waterbending move, it's like a lot like airbending. I don't know if anybody else kind of noticed that.
I didn't, though. It might be because of just her spending time with Aang.
I think that's because she spent so much time with Aang and whatnot.
You know that not to cut you off, but because you bring up like Aang and Katara and like them spending a lot of time together. Remember that one scene in episode 2, the Cave of Two Lovers, when she's like just like behind him and he's like just blushing and shit.
It's like he's got it bad for her.
He's like, oh god, yeah, no, definitely, that was adorable. Any other thoughts?
The fire whips, Zuko's fire whips, they were cool.
Mm-hmm.
When he whipped those out.
No, the visually, the bending is really improved this season in the fight choreography.
I thought the animation was fantastic, vast improvement. I think it's because I think they got more money for the budget.
Oh yeah, no, you can tell
that helped a lot.
Yeah, they this season definitely. Nickelodeon said, "Okay, here's more." So there's no doubt they let them have more free reign. I think. So I agree.
Another thing about the season, Aang at the end finally he usually just ran away and he finally just I'm gonna charge in head on. I can't run away anymore.
And it worked out so well.
Yeah. Let me just launch this lightning bolt right in your back, kid.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, I'm gonna finally do it, and it's like, oh shit, should have just ran away again. It would have been better.
It was
No.
unexpected.
Yeah, it's fun. It's cool. It's very. I know everyone makes this comparison, but it's very much the Empire Strikes Back of Avatar. There's no doubt. Ace Rock, what about yourself, good sir? Your overall thoughts and impressions of season 2.
So I'm gonna respectfully pass because I haven't watched it.
Oh no, that's fine. That's totally cool.
I haven't gotten to it, and
it's a lot of TV too. It's a lot of episodes.
and it's something where I tried to get caught up on season 1,
right.
And struggled through a little bit of it just because reasons, but what I'm hearing from everybody makes me realize that I got to put the work in because I think I would really like. I really like everything I'm hearing.
Yeah, I feel I want to speak to everybody, but I feel like we all are kind of in unison as saying like this is better than season 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
That's the vibe I get.
Yeah, I think we're kind of all on the same page in that regard. I mean, the characters, there's more. I mean, there's just the conflicts are increased, whether it be exterior or interior. The group dynamics have changed. The characters are literally at probably their lowest moments. In a lot of cases, they're circumventing situations which are just completely unfamiliar with, and that's what makes it interesting. And there's just, there's just, I think, a greater exploration of the cultures that we've kind of initially been, shown in season 1, but now we're getting into like, okay, how is the Earth Kingdom society function? Particularly when we get to like Ba Sing Se, and it's like, wow, this is. I mean, you can make a lot of parallels to, obviously cultures and societies from our own lives. And I think that's really cool. And I think that's what really improves it. They just I feel like the Avatar creators, they just got more money and more creative freedom to do what they wanted to do, and Nickelodeon trusted them to even go dark. And I think the season is just better for it. But also having those lighter moments which feel so well written and just wonderfully funny. So yeah, it's just it's overall I think it's a superior season. I did want to take a moment now just to pick your brains about some of the new characters they introduced. We got some new main characters and obviously a lot of like supporting and tertiary characters in this season. But I think we have to start with the big one in terms of our heroes. I mean, then that's the character of Toph. And, Toph, I think, is a fan favorite for a lot of Avatar fans, just because she is, she's so different than anyone that the game has encountered yet, where Katara, when we think of like a lot of the female characters of Avatar, again, Katara is this very maternal, this very caring individual, and that's because of the responsibility that she had to take on due to the circumstances of her life and her village. But where Toph, she is this girl in complete open rebellion against her way of life, where she comes from this very rich family who constantly dotes over her the entire time, and wants to protect her and wants her to act just like them, but she doesn't want to do that. She wants to be carefree. Her most important thing in her life is her freedom. And another interesting aspect of her is that she's blind, and that's one of the reasons why like her family dotes over her. Introducing a character who has a disability. And I think that's also another reason why she's so popular, is that despite her disability, she is confident and badass. But also, again, still being flawed. She is anything but perfect, like any of the other characters are. And I really like that. Like, she is well-rounded while also being different from anyone else that we've seen so far. But I want to go down the line and just kind of ask people's opinions on Toph, your favorite moments with Toph, what you liked about her, what you didn't, maybe you didn't like about her. Because sometimes I can get might rub people the wrong way because she is so abrasive, particularly when it comes to relationship with Katara. But I do think she's a nice addition to the game. So I know that H-Rock, you haven't seen it, but I'll just go to Emily. What are your thoughts on Toph as a character?
I think Toph was a much needed element to the group dynamic and whatnot, instead of just because I would have gotten sick of just seeing Katara and and Sokka and Aang just going back and forth.
We'll talk about my girl that way.
I have my problems with Katara. We can get to that later on, whatnot.
I like it.
But I like that Toph is so much different, and that she and Katara, just their arguments or whatever it says, like they remind me of my siblings a little bit. They never got along, always bitching and screaming at each other.
Very nice, very nice. Awesome. What about yourself? What are your opinions on Toph?
Oh, I love Toss. She is what the group kind of needed in season 1. She's kind of like really fits the dynamic where she's kind of like the little sister, but she's also kind of even maybe more powerful than Katara or even Aang at the beginning of just in terms of earthbending. And
she's a master. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. She kind of felt like a mix, and I know it's going to sound weird, like of Helen Keller and Daredevil.
That's great. That's a great. I love that, man. Yeah, no, that's a great comparison. Yeah.
What a mix.
Yeah, I love it. Any other thoughts though? Any other thoughts on it?
I just really enjoy her journey. I wish we got to see a little bit more of her family and kind of just. I know in the 3rd season they kind of go into like how she kind of developed how to earthbend and how that worked for her, and we kind of just. I think we get a hint of it this season.
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I know that it was Badger Moles, the which are the original Earthbenders of the Badger Moles, and they teach her, and they teach her how to see as well with Earthbending, because she is Daredevil, where she literally just hits something. She's like, all right, I see where everything is. I got it in my own way. So yeah, no, great.
But I also like how she's limited in some places, like when she has to go on the ice or the sand.
Oh yeah, again showing that she's not this all powerful being. Like she does have flaws in her circumstances where she's like, ah shit, my usual thing that I always have working is not. That's right, and we see her kind of like at a loss, and she has to rely on her friends, which I think is really sweet. Chris Harris, what about yourself, sir? Your opinions on Toph?
Yeah, Toph she's the GOAT of the season for me. She's by far the best addition. I love her dynamic. I love that she's a blind badass, and I also love that she does not stop talking shit to anybody.
That's true.
We mentioned earlier with Katara, and even when she's training Aang, she's constantly like making fun of him and throwing all these insane challenges that there's no way he can accomplish at that stage, but she's doing it anyway. The point that when she finally gets around someone who can't respond to her shit talking, this is my favorite scene with her probably, when she's just stuck in the desert alone with Appa and she's trying to like make conversation with him, but he's an animal so he can't talk or respond, so she's just like struggling to like make a conversation with him happen. So yeah, Toph is awesome.
What about yourself, Stefan? What do you like about Toph? What do you think of her?
Yeah, so I mean, Toph is definitely up there as one of my favorite characters, but that's the beauty of Avatar. Like they all are.
Mm-hmm.
But what I like is that they never go past the fact that she is a kid and she has been sheltered. Like that part where she's trying to stop the library from sinking.
Right.
And the Sandbenders are right behind her, and she can't do anything, and she's, trying to threaten them and use all this power that she has, but she can do nothing. Sit there and watch as her friend gets taken away. And like you could see how much of a little like scared girl she is. And there's certain things she just doesn't know about because she has been sheltered her entire life. And I like how they go into that and they don't just... Because in a lot of the season, she is this like badass who can do it all, but she can be just a helpless little girl at times too.
No, that's what's great about the character is that she's a fully realized person with she has these amazing abilities and she has this really either likable personality, abrasive personality, but she's also flawed at the same time, and that's I think that's what makes her so popular. So I agree with you. Like
she's not always at odds with Katara.
True.
That's the thing.
Sometimes they get along with each other.
Yeah.
Maybe
and
the famous
if it was worse writing, it would have just had them be at each other's throats the entire time, but they don't do that. And that's something I appreciate.
Very true. Like even when they are going back, and they go at it, and they do, and that it comes up because they're just so different people. They're just so different from each other. They do have their moments where they can bond. Again, famously in the Tales from Boston episode where they go to get manicures and a makeover, which I think is adorable.
And Toff's pedicure.
Yeah,
Of course, she just
that's right.
blasts some woman out her room.
Kills that woman. No doubt kills that woman. Jacob, what about yourself, sir? What are your opinions on Toph as a character?
I love the character Toph. Ever since like the first episode that she showed up, where she was facing Boulder.
Boulder, which is I feel like is a reference to The Rock.
Yeah. Like that whole arena thing is like a reference to like pro wrestling, but for earthbending.
Yes.
But like you could like see like how she uses everything else, like her senses, her hearing and stuff, for her freaking bending, because it's obviously her big blocking point is her eyes. She can't see, she won't know where it's gonna be, but she could sense it. She could feel the vibrations. She could hear things, and though like the first like few minutes of her fighting Boulder is like one of my favorites, because you get to see how capable she is with it. But as a character herself, she is like hilarious because she's always at odds with Katara. And like when she was training Aang, it's hilarious because like
Twinkle Toes.
Yeah, like you can see like she literally just like does not have the patience, but she did understand what Katara was telling her, and like towards the end, like Katara was like, "You used the thing I told you," and she was like, "Yep."
Yeah, I do. Yeah, keep going.
Continue.
No, that's no. I do appreciate with Toph is like how they initially showcase her, where she seems as like this unassuming little girl, and then she pulls off like there's that badass shot of when like the Earth, where I think the Boulder, someone else like flings something at her, and it goes right by her eyes, and you see like the little specks of dirt, and she's like no expression, and then she does like one move, and she gets him in the goddamn balls, with like just shoots up with that Earth. I was like, it's cool. It's a great introduction to that character. That's why I love it so much. I love her so much. Cassie, what about yourself? Your general impressions on Toph?
I'd say she's definitely one of my favorite characters. I love her confidence and her tenacity, especially in that scene where she bends metal for the first time. Like, because after that, she's obviously riding this sort of high that I don't think many people can relate to, because she literally just discovered something. True. And she can say with confidence, I'm the greatest earthbender in the world. And it's not an arrogant moment. It's just she knows.
Yeah. Because they show it. they showcase that when she discovers the little earth particles in there. No, fully agree. And that is one of her best moments in the season, I think. It's just that discovery and just her like being like, wow, I really am a badass. It's not all just talk from me. Totally agree. Xavier, what about yourself? Your impressions on Toph or favorite scenes with her?
I really like Toph. She's probably my favorite character. I'd probably say she's my favorite character in the whole series. She has my favorite moment in the whole series in season 3, which I won't talk about obviously. But yeah, I just everyone said it. She's a badass. I think I just was watching episode 9 where she's like training Aang, and she has one of my favorite lines when because she pushes the boulder, and I guess Aang is supposed to like move it, and then he jumps. He jumps. Katara is like, "Oh, we're gonna do some water bending," and Toph is like, "Well, yeah, you go splish splash in that water until you're ready to come back." And instead of like being all sad, like, "Oh, maybe I was too tough on him," she's like, "No, I'm gonna continue being, hard on him and try and make him better." But yeah, absolutely love Toph.
There was a few other moments. I don't think any of us brought up. I just realized, like, I love it that it's obvious that Toph has a crush on Sokka. And
He's so freaking oblivious. Like, jeez.
he's very oblivious to it. And like, there's that great scene when eventually Suki comes back from season 1, and she gets an expanded role in here. When they're going, I think what's the episode name? It's the Serpent's Pass episode. And when they have to deal with water, and when she falls in and she's rescued by Suki, and she thinks it's Sokka, and she's like, "Oh, Sokka," and she's just like kissing Suki, and she's like, "I'm not Sokka." She's like, "Oh, well, you can let me drown now, I guess." That's a great episode.
Embarrassment.
And it's and that continues on into season 3, and just Sokka just never acknowledging that Toph has. I mean, Sokka's a ladies' man. I mean, he's got Yue, who's now the moon. Suki, of course, come back into his life and everything. I mean, hey, good for him. But I just love it how they don't give Toph a love interest, but they just give her that unrequited love towards Sokka, which he never acknowledges. I
don't think
very, very funny.
Sokka was as oblivious as everybody makes him out to be. I just think he didn't know how to turn her down without her possibly stabbing him with a big ass boulder, or crushing him to death or whatever. Maybe he just didn't want to turn him down for his own personal safety.
That's true. So he was just like, I'm just not gonna acknowledge.
Don't say anything at all.
He's also crazy young.
That too.
Well, she's the same age as, or no, I think she might be. Is she that? I think
she's like the
Katara's
second
age?
youngest.
I think
I think she was Aang's age.
I feel like
she's Aang's age.
Maybe she's Aang's age. That might be it. So I think they're the same age, and Katara's like 2 years older than Aang, and Sokka's the oldest, obviously.
Also, Twinkle Toes.
Twinkle Toes. That's her little. She gives little nicknames to all the characters. But yeah, that's the one I always remember calling him Twinkle Toes, which continues on into season 3, and then went by the time they're like in their 40s. When she even references Aang as Twinkle, it's like, stop calling me that. I'm 40 years old. It's like, no, and still makes me laugh. So her dynamic with the group is great, and she gets so many wonderful character moments, and then again action scenes. Like, I mean, this is the episode. This is the season where, season 1 we explored earthbending like a little bit, where it was more focused on airbending and waterbending and firebending, obviously with the Fire Nation Zuko. This is the one where really shows you how cool earthbending is and all the sorts of things that you can do with it, and another form of it in the case of metal bending. But now talking about one of the hero characters, I feel like it's just appropriate to talk about Azula, and want to hear everyone's general impressions on this character. To me, she's probably the best antagonist in the series. I mean, other than Zuko, who is going through a metamorphosis of sorts. Starts out as a villain, and then you don't even know what is he in season 2. He goes back and forth. He's trying to find himself. But Azula's just like, okay, we need someone who has none of the, any sense of morality that Zuko has, which he always is trying to push down, but that's always coming back up because he can't help himself. Because deep down, I think he is a good person. He's just confused and he's hurt. Azula's just like, I don't have any emotions, so I'm just going to do what I want for myself. And that includes hurting as many people as possible and using as many people as possible to get what I want, and using violence and manipulation to do it. She's incredibly competent, resourceful, and vicious.
Most
and
psychotic 14-year-old I've ever seen. She's
psychotic, yeah. And she's like, and there's like, even when we get to season 3, like, she doesn't have a redemption. She doesn't have like what Zuko might potentially get. She's just like, no, I know who I am, and this is the way I have to be, because she can't help herself because she's crazy. And I kind of love her for that. That's what makes her such a scary threat. I mean, literally, when there's an episode where she's just relentlessly pursuing them, and the gang does not know why or how to stop her, that's already intimidating. But even some more subtle things, like when she's first introduced, I think when when her dynamic with her brother, how fucking toxic, and how, even though she's the younger sister, how she constantly is berating and belittling Zuko when they first meet, and later on when they constantly interact with the season, and she's still trying to manipulate him or kill him. I mean, that is just really just shows what a horrible person she is. But even how she manipulates and forces her friends to join her on her journey. What she does to, especially, I mean, yeah, obviously, I think Mai just ends up joining her. I forget the particular reason why. I think it's just because of she's like, well, I don't want to be with my family right now. But with like Ty Lee, where Ty Lee is like really happy that she's in the circus, and she's like, listen, I join you, but I'm just I love my life. And Azula's like, ha, 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 sure you do, and like really almost setting her up to like get killed in a certain scene, making something especially dangerous for Ty Lee, saying like, I'm in charge, you're gonna do what I want to do. It just showcases her as such a threatening presence, and how she organizes a coup by the time we get to the end of the series of the Earth Kingdom. It's like, Jesus Christ, she's effective. Like, you say what you will about her, but she is effective at destroying and bringing a society down to its knees. But I'm a huge Azula fan. I think at this time I'll just let whoever wants to speak about Azula go ahead. Just bring up what you want to talk about. Whoever wants to go first.
Well, she's a character that I've always been very torn about because, like, on one hand, a lot of people want to say, oh, she's a child, she should have had her chance at redemption and all that. But at the same time, the things she does are just so awful. It's hard. It's easy to see why so many people were too scared of her to try and help her because she's so powerful. And even her mom, like, I get that she felt rejected and everything, which I don't know. It just like in one of the flashbacks, her mom's literally like, there's something wrong with that child. And on one hand, like, that's not the best thing to say when it's your kid and your responsibility, but I can see why it freaked her out.
She was the bad seed.
Blame the parents.
I mean, not a great. I mean, listen, when your dad is, also
Lord.
a psychopath too, and voiced by Mark Hamill, who's doing his best not to do his Joker voice, but obviously is. So I mean, that's not a great start. You're already
Joker voice snuck through a few times. It's stuck for you.
He can't help it. But I mean, it's not. Let's just say the Zuko's upbringing was not great, and his family unit is not great. But yeah, I even love that. Yeah, when we have that flashback sequence when Azula is clearly abusive towards animals. It's like, Jesus. It's like, this kid is crazy. This kid is a psychopath or a sociopath, the way you want to, categorize them being. But that's what makes her so scary. Like, even as a child, there was something wrong with her. Which is interesting for
Azula. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, keep going. Go ahead.
I think Azula would have flat out killed Zuko if she hadn't been under orders to bring him and Iroh in and imprison them. She would have just straight up killed him.
Oh yeah, no, I think I mean, she hates her brother.
She hates him so much.
Yeah, it's probably for a number of things. One, she perceives him as being weak. The other thing is that he is always the person who is destined to be Fire Lord, where she thinks she is. Like, I've proven myself to my father. I'm a better bender than he is. I'm better at being a soldier than he is. At least in her mind, what being a soldier is.
Willing to do whatever it takes.
Yeah, doing whatever it takes. And yet, despite all that, he would still become Fire Lord. And I think she really resents that. And that's why, she wouldn't care. It's like, yeah, I'll kill him. I don't care. As long as I get what I want. Which, again, makes her so threatening and evil. And yeah, she killed her uncle because Uncle Iroh knows exactly what she is. It's funny because her and Iroh don't really have the many if any conversations throughout the series.
They barely talk.
They don't talk to each other. And I think that just Iroh's just like, there's no helping her. She is what she is. And she's that irredeemable villain. I mean, she is very much her father's daughter. Any other thoughts on Azula in general from anybody?
Azula is that type of character that you love to hate. Like, from the very first moment where she was talking to, I think, the ship's captain. I think that's who he was. Where he was just telling her, hey, this tide's coming in. Like, we should probably, like, do something about that. And she was like, nope, you want to be dead? Like, she has, like, that presence of, I will get my way. Either by taking you out or just flat out killing you. And that's just terrifying. And it's so, like, it's just the honest contrast between her and Zuko, where Zuko, like you said earlier, he doesn't know what. He's so conflicted about himself that he wants to impress his father. He wants to be in good graces with his father, that he wants to capture the Avatar. And where Azula's like, I will kill him. I want to be the highest power here, and like I will get whatever I want. And it's like, damn, like there's a big difference between the both of them.
Yeah, no, I like the stark contrast between Zuko and Azula. That's what works so well, and I like it. You need to like, hey, we introduce you have to introduce a new threat if you're doing a new season or a new movie, a new element, and let's just make the more terrifying, sadistic version of Zuko. And it works. It works both in this season and into season 3. Any other thoughts on Azula as a character, or any scenes that really stuck out to you featuring her?
Do they ever mention why her fire is blue rather than the orange or red or whatever?
I feel like they do because she is the first time. She's the character where we first see shows the sub bending ability of lightning, and I think it's because blue flames are like hotter than like regular red, orangey, yellow flames because she's so powerful, and that's why her bending is the way it is. That's why it has that color palette. I think they do mention that. Where at one point in the season, I think maybe Iroh says that's the why her bending looks that way because she is so powerful.
I think it's also a part of her personality because she's
That
just so
anger.
cold.
Yeah, it could be that too.
Blue does
said-
represent, like, blue is the hottest out of all the colors of fire.
Yeah, so I think that's the big thing. Yeah, it could represent her personality where it's just that, that cool, cold, calculating sociopath. That
Well,
I
I
think
mean,
that's a big
even in her
factor into it.
soundtrack,
Mhm.
even in her soundtrack for like her music, it's
Her
this
theme,
small
yeah.
little quiet chime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Like
no,
everything
Awesome
about
theme,
her is quiet.
by the way.
no, good, no, both of you. Yeah, great point to bring up. Yeah, her theme song is very menacing. There's no warmth in that theme song.
No.
not at all. Yeah, no, she is an incredible addition to the season. Any other last minute thoughts in regards to Azula or a certain scene with her that you guys
And
really liked?
explode into a giant fireball of anger at the end. Just had a complete mental breakdown.
Oh, and eventually we'll get to season 3.
Yeah.
Sure,
Um,
sure.
It's just so weird that until the chase episode, they don't know who she is. They don't know
That's
she's
true.
Zuko's sister. That which is like until they all kind of confront her at the end of that.
Yeah, no, and it culminates in that great scene where it's literally a Mexican standoff situation where it feels like a
She
Western.
still wins.
Yeah, she gets away. She gets away. And really, but it takes the combined effort of every fucking buddy, including Zuko, to take her down, which I really liked. Or just to get her out of here. She's like, all right, I have to retreat now. I can't take all of you. She's like, I'm a badass, but I ain't that badass. Jesus Christ, teaming all of you teaming up on me.
I'm
No,
crazy, but I'm not suicidal.
Exactly. So, and there's like even other like more subtle things, like how she takes control of the Dai Li. Like she does the thing that the Fire Nation failed to do for 100 years. She takes down the Earth Kingdom from the inside out.
In the
gaining.
quietest way possible.
Manipulating things, just sneaking in, spying. It was just insane how effective this girl was.
I mean, I liked how when she initially gets in there, you think, did she kill Suki? Did she kill
Right?
the Kyoshi
They
warriors?
implied it a lot.
There's a lot of implied deaths. Some of it happened, some of it didn't. But like this one's like we don't know what happened to Suki, like until we get to season 3. But I like that she goes under the guise of the Kyoshi warriors. She then understands the Dai Li and Longfang. Clancy Brown, voiced by Clancy Brown, by the way, helps him. Seemingly, makes herself look like she's not in control, but she really is. And she takes over this kind of Illuminati, organization, and then just takes over the Earth Kingdom. And then she has the Dai Li now in season 3, who now work for her, like in the Fire Nation. I love that. So yeah, no, it shows that she's not only like a really vicious character, but a very intelligent one. Understands war, understands subterfuge and espionage, and is effective at it. And will carry out the task for herself and for her father, which I think works so well for her.
The most efficient 14-year-old ever.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, Jesus Christ, she's an overachiever. I'll give her that. She's a psychopath and a monster, but she is an overachiever. She gets the job done. I always say that about Azula. But now, kind of moving on. I mean, we did mention it before. We do have the introduction of also her quote unquote friends,
Her victims,
if you will, her victims. I mean, they are kind of her victims, but Mai and Ty Lee. I really like the introduction of these two characters. One, because they're not benders, which I think is interesting. You know, because most of the I mean, yes, we have Sokka, of course, who is a non-bender, using his boomerang and things, but we get the introduction of two characters who are just as competent and just as deadly with their various abilities, where in case of Mai, it's her throwing knives, her daggers and things, but also introducing a cool element of I forget what it's called.
Chi blocking.
Chi blocking, that's right. With Ty Lee's Kung Fu. And it's like, oh shit, like you could shut a person down just by hitting the right pressure points and on a person's body, just making them completely making them linguini arms, making them noodles, which I love. and I just like their personalities. They're so different from each other. Like Mai is the typical, I mean, goth girl, if you will. Always like, hey, it's like, are you a Tim Burton character, Mai? Is that what you are? Which I like. And she's very deadpan, very sarcastic, dry.
I don't like you.
I really like, pretty much. And then where Ty Lee is just this bubbly, everything is fantastic, and I love being here with my friends person, which you wouldn't expect with a villain-esque character coming from the Fire Nation,
murdering psychopath.
Yeah, exactly. That her quote unquote best friend is that, and I just like that. I like their dynamic they have each other, even though it's abusive and toxic. But anyone's thoughts and opinions on Mai and Ty Lee as characters and how they're used in the season?
I kind of wish we could have seen more about them, like how they all became friends or how they were introduced to each other and whatnot.
We get I'm trying to remember. I guess we don't get too much of that. We do see more of that dynamic in season 3. Or at least them hanging out with each other, like the beach episode. But we don't really see too much of how that relationship happened. I guess maybe it's insinuated that they were it's like a forced playdate kind of situation, where Ty Lee's parents and Miley's parents like really sent their kids just to hang out with Azula because she didn't have any fucking friends. I feel like that might have been implied. I want to say. I don't know if it was in this season. It might be in the next season.
Put your daughters hang out with my kid, or I'm going to roast him to death.
It might be that. I really think it is. I mean, I wouldn't put that. That seems like something Ozai would do.
They have a line about like ladies' school they all went to or something.
Oh, I think that's it, Austin. Yeah. So yeah, there's subtle hints, but we don't get like a flashback scene with them or anything like that. As far as I can remember, whether in this season or in season 3. But some other things I like about them, and again, just to show the yes. I mean, even that, again, I keep going back to the Chase episode because it's such a great episode. But I really love how Ty Lee is obviously flirting with Sokka the entire time. And like everyone's lusting after Sokka. Top's lusting after Sokka. Suki's good for Sokka because he's usually always. I mean, yes, he is very much the comedic character.
The ladies want him so much.
And yeah, I think that's it. He got listen, as long as you're funny, got confidence, that's there you go. You're a good ways ahead there. But he's also good looking. But I love how even when Ty Lee's beating the shit out of him, that she's constantly flirting with him too. I just love that little scene right there. I thought that was really cute to me.
After the chase, Tyler was like, that guy seems kind of cute.
That's right. He's like scared of her when she says that. It's a really adorable moment. I'm trying to think of like any other particular scenes. I mean, those are the ones that always come to my mind. And even when they're in control of the drill. I mean, again, they do have these great moments between the three of them. But I like that they showcase how effective they are in battle. Whether it's in the chase episode, the drill episode, or later on in 2 when we get to the penultimate episode and the last one with Crossroads of Destiny and things like that. Like, I just like that, hey, we have some non-bender characters. Like, non-benders can also be badass in this show. They're just not comic relief or just need to be saved, which I thought was a really great inclusion. And it introduces some abilities, which we'll see later on in the sequel series in Legend of Korra, which I think is really cool in regards to Ty Lee's abilities. I also wanted to talk about Long Feng and the Dai Li, and we can go into Earth Kingdom in general. Maybe there's any other supporting characters you guys wanted to bring up, but I'm a huge Clancy Brown fan, and when I heard it's like, oh, he's going to be doing a character, fantastic, he's going to be a villain, and yes, lo and behold, it's a villain. What I like about Long Feng, he's the kind of guy that plays, I mean, pardon the pun, the long game, where he's like, I'm just going to make sure that I keep the status quo and that I get as much power as possible. I'm going to just keep the Earth King, who's a schmuck, as a figurehead, and I'm just going to gain power from myself and make sure that my place isn't affected. And I love how he's not going to be like the villain is like, I'm just going to go and fight the Avatar and stuff. He's like, I'm going to use the corrupt system that I've put in place. And it's been around for, we can only assume, generations, decades, if not hundreds of years in Ba Sing Se, to prevent the Avatar and his friends from gaining a foothold and making any specific changes. Like, I love that when because there's like a lot of episodes when, like, I feel like it's like the back 5 or 6, I want to say, when Aang and everyone else is constantly going head to head with Long Feng, but not in a physical way. Eventually they do, of course. But I love that they're fighting against his manipulations and just the corruption he has in place. And the Dai Li are like really ominous and scary. I mean, it's that whole thing of like, you hear about these secret, shadow governments and organizations, and this one exists in the world of Avatar. And I thought it was really cool. And yes, I mean, eventually he succumbs to Azula's manipulations. But I really liked his introduction as a character. I thought it was a cool element. Any thoughts on Long Feng and the Dai Li in Ba Sing Se?
I like the one Appa beat him up.
Well, Appa did kick his ass. That's true.
He's very much
skip him
worm
across
tongue.
the water.
We want to say Ostic, then Casper can go.
Sorry. He's very much worm tongue in the show. He's always he's very much like the king's advisor who's doing stuff. I can't remember if it was like a comic or something. Like, it was turned out that the Dai Li was created by Avatar Roshi, but then they became kind of corrupt years later.
That's right. I think they're by Avatar. Was it?
Koshi or
Kyoshi.
Avatar Kyoshi. Yeah. They were created by her. That's right. That's correct. Did they mention that in this season? It might have been the third season, but I do think it's mentioned. You're right. So it shows like, hey, the Avatar can also do some bad, or they have good intentions, but then later down the line.
But it also kind of turns Jet into like the Manchurian candidate a little bit.
I want to talk about Jet. He absolutely is the Manchurian candidate, where it's like, we're going to activate you. He's the Winter Soldier. He's the Winter Soldier before the Winter Soldier. We're going to activate you with a Cold War. Then you're going to go nuts. Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah, we can talk about it. Casper, you had anything to say about the Dai Li or Long Feng?
I was just gonna say that it was so satisfying when Appa skipped Long Feng across the water like a freaking stone. I think it was Long Feng he did that.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's a wonderful visual, especially because again, he's that villain's like, we can't fucking punch you, but boy, we really want to, because this whole everything we're doing is just to get the king on our side. Like, we need his help with this thing that we're doing, but this guy's preventing that. And if we fuck up, this perfectly constructed caste system, the society that they have, then we'll lose out that chance. I think that's great. And so they have to play this game. And so when you finally see Long Feng get his ass kicked and just slapped across the water, yeah, it's perfect. I'm right there with you. But yeah, we can mention Jet. I mean, we do have some characters that obviously come back. Jet, which we briefly mentioned in our book 1 water discussion, where he's this kind of guerrilla fighter, if you will. Very, at least clearly feels that way, or is inspired by those kind of those people, those soldiers. He's back in here trying to make a new life for himself and his the remnants of his group. I think we have Smellerbee and we have the Archer guy, and how he can't let his resentment and hatred for the Fire Nation go because he recognizes Zuko and Iroh. But he meets a sad end, where he's taken by the Dai Li, turned into a Winter Soldier, Manchurian candidate, as has been said, constantly has to fight against it, and then dies. Or heavily implied, but it's confirmed that he died after the events of that episode. Thoughts on like Jet's little arc and how his character came to an end?
But when you're in season 2, you have so many people besides Azula dealing with PTSD. Iroh, Zuko, Aang, in all these different types of forms, and then you see Jet, and he is truly going through it because his entire life has been a fight, and then you see him go to this peaceful city, I put that in quotes,
yeah,
and just be told like, oh, well, drop all that. just live normally. And yeah, it's not crazy that he can't do that. And to be honest, when I was a kid, when I saw him carried away, I was like, yeah, get out of here. Just let Zuko and Iroh live their lives. At the same time, when you think back to it, Zuko and Iroh kind of deserve their punishments as well. If a lot of people who were in those villages that they burned down, which they did, who they were, they would probably attack them too.
It's funny you bring that up, especially for Zuko and Iroh, because throughout this entire season, I just kind of want you. I want, like, Iroh seems at peace. Is like, I don't need the glory of the Fire Nation. I can be an owner of a tea shop and live out my life and just live with my nephew. But Zuko, he's just you want so it's best for both of them, even though Zuko has done these bad things, because he feels like he has to.
Of course.
And you want Zuko just to just accept this new life for himself, but he has that struggle. But he's at, by the same time, it's like, should these guys be punished? I mean, because we spend so much time with Zuko and Iroh, like, we understand them and we care about them at this point. They're not villains, really, even though Zuko still does bad things. Like, but at the same time, it's like, maybe they should be like, no, I mean, you've done horrible things in the past and you need to atone for that, which is interesting. And, and Jet is that character's like, I'm going to fucking get you. And just not letting sleeping dogs lie.
No.
But any other thoughts on Jet in this particular season from anyone, or how they handled his character? Okay. That's fine. I did want to talk about some other, obviously characters are coming, from season 1 into season 2 and the things that they go through. Some notable moments with them. I feel like obviously, yes, we have the introduction of someone like Toph and her dynamic with everybody in Azula, but we also see, like, our main characters go through these really big changes, or just kind of they're at their darkest moments, and I think that's personified perfectly in both Aang and Zuko, and how, like, Aang, it's obviously not only like learning to earthbend, which he has trouble wrapping his head around, because it is very much the opposite element of air, where it's very very you seemingly have, like, a lot more freedom. You don't need to approach things head on. You can move out of the way, like that kind of thing. Where with earthbending, it's like, no, you gotta be very stubborn. You have to meet things head on. He's like, he struggles with that. Like, that's part of it. But I think the big thing for him is his loss of Appa. Like, that is something that you really see how sad and full of rage that he obviously becomes because of that situation, where he becomes, like, a very resentful, angry person. And I think that's perfectly personified, like, in the episode The Desert, which is one of my favorites, where we have that moment where we see the Sandbenders have kidnapped Appa. He finds out that they're the ones that did it. And Aang fucking freaks out. And he's like, I'm going to kill all of them. And everyone, like, Sokka takes Toph. He's like, we need to fucking run. And, like, the only person who doesn't run away is Katara, who takes him and, like, hugs him until he calms down. Like, that to me is just one of the most powerful scenes from the second season, and really shows the struggle that Aang has in dealing with the loss of someone who's been with him since he was really a child, a little kid, always been a part of his life. Any thoughts on kind of Aang's arc in this? I mean, also when he has to, seemingly give up Katara in order to become the Avatar, someone he's come to love. He really struggles in this season, both physically and emotionally and psychologically. But any thoughts on Aang's arc from anyone?
In the finale, I like what they ultimately did with what happened with him in his Avatar state, because there's that moment where he's about to let Katara go, and it's really heartbreaking. And then there's that moment where he briefly dies.
Yeah.
But, like, unlike what he's previously been told about his attachments, if it hadn't been for Katara, he wouldn't have been able to come back.
True.
She's the one who ultimately saves him when all that happens, whereas the Avatar state is almost what got him killed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, it's that kind of thing. You know what it is? It's like Guru, what's the guy's name? Guru Patik, whatever the hell his name is. who is like, you must let go of all your earthly attachments and things. That's that goddamn Jedi Council flawed system that they have. It's like, you can't have sex, you can't love anybody, gotta dedicate yourself to the Jedi Order. That's when you get that, you get a giant cyborg abomination who doesn't have a penis, and he conquers the galaxy. You don't want that for Aang. That's the last thing we need right now. And so it turned out that was not the case, Guru Patik. Okay, it was his love for Katara that made him a better person, a better avatar. So I agree with you, Casfe. I love that. That is the thing that inevitably saves him. It's Katara, funny enough. Yeah. Any other thoughts on Aang's arc in season 2?
Well, when we see Appa's episode, it actually goes to show kind of is an episode focused entirely on Appa and his journey, but it goes to show also who Aang is as a person. Because you see this free creature in a world that doesn't care about his freedom. And that, I believe that kind of is a metaphor for Aang as well, because him and Appa are such free spirits, and even his rage and just the fact that they wanted to muzzle Appa.
Right, that's right. You put a muzzle on him, and that's when he fucking freaks out.
That's the moment where he's just done. He's like, I'm killing everybody. I don't care, friend, foe, whoever. Everybody's getting it.
Yeah.
And just these two friends who are all that they have left, really, from a bygone era. Yeah.
It's culture. They're the last.
Ruby's still there, but that doesn't count.
Yeah. I mean, he's from the Earth Kingdom, like specifically. Yeah, you're right. Aeronomad culture. They are the last vestiges of it, other than old ruins and the temples that we see, that kind of thing. But yeah, he's the last Airbender. He is seemingly the last Air Bison. And so, yeah, that's why he probably has that anger too, because it's the last thing I need is more of my culture to be destroyed. Any other thoughts from anyone else on Aang's arc in this, or particular moment with him that stood out to you before we move on to the next, I think, really other big important arc? Okay, I want to talk about Zuko as well, because I mean, this season, it starts with him losing the little that he actually had left. Where he was in the first season, he was constantly trying to regain his honor and capture the Avatar, and then seeming like, when Azula appears and says, "Father wants you to come home," he forgives you, your banishment, that's erased. But in reality, it's just to take him home and for him to be a prisoner. Like, you're not only are you not my son, but I'm going to put you in prison for your failure. Like, out of sight, out of mind. It's like, Jesus. And so him and Iroh just on this journey, trying to come up with a new life, and Zuko just like not ready for that. And, arguing with Iroh, feeling like at one point Iroh is holding him back because they don't want the same things. And we really, I think, also see like another side of Zuko. We already obviously know from season 1, book 1, that he's struggling with like who he is as a person. But I love that he also, like, when he does the right things, like in Zuko Alone, which is another amazing standout episode in this season, when he's just by himself, where it's a Western, where he goes into town and he helps this village who has to endure these like earthbending bandits. And he does the right thing. He does everything right, shows what a good person he is, and yet they still fucking hate him because he is of the Fire Nation. He admits it. He admits that he's the crown prince. And they're like, despite everything you did, it's like, I hate you. That little kid he's been buying with the entire episode, I fucking hate you. And he leaves, and he's like, I can't get anything. He is alone. He has nothing. And then that eternal struggle when we get to the end, when he's like, seemingly he seems to be okay when he has that tea house with Iroh, but then that's, that he has that thing presenting in front of him. We're at the crossroads of destiny for both Aang and Zuko, where Aang, he's like, I got to give up Katara in order to become the Avatar. Zuko's like, do I give up this life to do what my sister and father want? Do I either help Aang or do I capture him? And he makes the choice to capture and or kill him. And it's so sad because we see this continuous struggle with Zuko throughout the entire season. Even like his conversation with Katara, who offers to use that water on his face to heal his scar. He has a conversation with her And Iroh's talking to me like, you need to choose who you want to be, and he seemingly makes a really awful choice. But thoughts on Zuko this season, guys? Anything you want to say about that?
I like that Zuko's redemption wasn't easy for him. That he had to struggle to get to where he eventually is in season 3, and the fact that I think Iroh had his best interest in mind. I know he and his uncle greatly disagreed, but he has his best interest in mind. If anything, he helped save your ass from getting captured, dragged off to prison, God knows what, blah blah blah. I was like, don't hate on the man so much because he's trying to help you.
I think it's just he's just confused. He doesn't.
He's just so confused.
He doesn't know what he wants. He feels like this is what I've always wanted. I want the love of my father, the love of my people. You know, my honor is his thing. But it's like, but is that what you need? And he struggles with that constantly, and he seemingly makes the wrong choice at the end, which they could have done. They could have done the whole thing where he helps them, but I like that they chose it. It's like, oh, because as viewers we're watching him seemingly making all the best choices throughout the entire season, like growing and becoming better and happier and more stable, and it just hits you when he I love that it's so, even the animation, it's not done with any dialogue when he confronts when Zuko confronts Aang and Azula in the old Ba Sing Se underneath which is an incredible action sequence, one of the best ones of the entire series. That battle. But I love how he fire blast and huge explosion between the two of them, and then Zuko's there, and like Azula's like looking at him, Aang's looking at Zuko, and he's going back and he's like looking back and forth. Like I think he's looking at Azula, and then his eyes shift to Aang, and Aang goes, huh, and he knows. Like Aang knows what's about to happen. That's when Zuko, even before Zuko fire blast, he realizes what Zuko's about to do. And I love that fucking subtlety. It's so good. And Aang's sudden intake of breath because he knows what's about to happen. And turns
goddamn it moment.
And turns the tide of the fight, whereas Zuko and Azula have the advantage. But yeah, any other thoughts on Zuko's arc in this particular season?
Zuko has so many great moments this season. I shoot even way back to when he's learning lightning from Iroh, and he can't do it. Actually, because he is so conflicted. And, you know, Iroh even has that moment where he's like, no, Azula's crazy and she needs to go down.
I love that. Yeah, my sister's like, he's a crazy fucking bitch. You need to kill her. I love that. I was like,
14-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, and then he has this moment. He can't do lightning, but he can redirect it. And he's on the top of this mountain cliff yelling. And at first you're like, oh, he's yelling at Azula. Maybe he's yelling at his dad. Then you realize he's yelling at the world.
Yeah.
Waiting for it to finally do something to him that he feels like he can finally deal with, and he can't.
That is a great moment when he's just so angry and sad. Yeah, man, he goes a rough time this season. Yeah.
He's a different person by the end of the season, and Katara says, you know, oh, I thought you changed, and he's like, I have. And even though he makes the wrong choice, he has changed.
Yes. Yeah.
He's changed so much.
No, he has. Yeah, he has. Despite, he's changed. It's growth takes time, and it's not like all at once. And that's obviously the case of Zuko. And even though he's seemingly become a better person, he still makes the wrong choice. But again, he's still growing. He's still realizing, like, maybe I didn't do the right thing, which I like about him. Which makes the finale so fantastic, in my opinion. Any other thoughts on Zuko's arc in this particular season from anyone else?
Didn't he go on a date?
He did go on a date.
I don't remember detail. I'm like, he went on a date, didn't he?
He was so unsure about it at first, but he ended up having fun. And that girl kissed him. She smooched him. And another proud shipping community was born between Zuko and whoever that girl was.
Who's he normally shipped with?
Katara. It's always been it's Zutara, Zuko, and Katara. Well, it's that whole thing of where, you know, they have to ship the main female lead, the bad boy, the villain. That's always we see that. That's on full display. Like even with Daisy Ridley's Rey and Kylo Ren. So,
It makes no
always
sense.
really
That's
cool.
all I'm saying.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you know, I think Aang and Zuko. I mean, yes, all these characters have all this development. They have all these great moments, but I really do feel like it's focused on Aang and Zuko, and they're given the most time to show their growth, and them at their just darkest and lowest moments. I really love that. There's all, and I did want to take the time just to ask you guys about your favorite like scenes or character interactions in this. I did want to bring up just a couple of things. Obviously, Mako, who voiced Iroh, he did complete his voice lines for season 2 all the way through, but he did die. He did pass away. He never was able to record season 3, and I really like. And that's one of my favorite moments in this season. There's countless. We already mentioned some, but the Tales of Ba Sing Se, which we've all brought up one way or another. I love that moment where we learn about him just going. It's really just like a slice of life for Iroh, where he's just going about his day, interacting with all these different people and like the kids. But then he finally makes like, because we don't know what he's doing. We have no idea what he's like. I think he even says goodbye to Zuko or something, and Zuko does his thing. But he goes this, you know, all throughout Ba Sing Se until he finally arrives at this little park, and he has that little makeshift memorial for his son. And he sings that song, "Leaves on the Vine, falling so slow." And it's so beautiful. He's crying, and we realize that his son died years ago in the war. And I think that was the thing that changed Iroh and made him the way he was. Because before that, we even see, I think there's even, I don't know, I'm forgetting if it was in season 2, maybe it's in book 3, but we see Iroh was like, I'm all for the fucking Fire Nation, baby. That's what I'm going to do. I'm like, he was known for like laying siege to Ba Sing. It's funny, he goes to the city, but he was known for laying siege to Ba Sing Se. It was because of his son's death during that siege that
was season 2.
Yeah, thank you. That he changed. But it took such a horrible, sad event to do that to him. And I just love that. That was so. And of course, you had the text comes up that from the creators that honors Mako's passing, and I thought that was perfect. I thought that was such a great send off to Mako's. His contributions to this incredible animated series, this wonderful product. I really love that. But does anyone else have like a moment or several moments that you wanted to bring up and just say, this is great?
Rip to the cabbage guy and all the times they fucked up his shit.
My cabbages! he even gives up, I think. He was like, fuck it.
He just gives up.
They abuse him so much in this season.
There was obviously season 2 is really good, and I think there's like three moments that I want to talk about, but I'll try to be fast. One is that they reintroduced the foaming mouth guy. I think it was in the
that's right.
the episode when they were doing the investigation, when they
Avatar
go back at Avatar Day, and he's like foaming at the mouth, and they're like, "Oh, where's Aang?" And there's like, "Oh, he couldn't come. He's not here." And then he's like, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna
He's
get way out of here." So I thought that moment was really good. Also, I had to talk about my 2 favorite fight scenes, which was the one with when Team Avatar goes and fight the Earth Kingdom. I thought that the choreography in that was amazing. Just the creativity that they had when they, like how they use their bending, like how they're shooting these boulders at them, and like Aang is you just see how far he's come with his earth bending, how he's just like chopping them with his staff and he's just pushing them out of the way. And then when they land, just when you see Toph and Aang like just both using earth bending, and then like Toph, she does like this cool thing where she's like basically like doing like a fan move to just block all the boulders, all the rocks coming. I'm like, this is amazing, and my jaw dropped, and I was like, this is the best thing ever. And then of course they have the finale, which tops everything. And when back to when you were saying how Aang had that like, oh my god moment, like, you know, Zuko's about to turn on us. One thing I really liked was that Zuko has this like, you can see it in his eyes, like, because I always thought they were just going to capture the Avatar and like do whatever, but like it looks like they're like Zuko is like actually trying to kill him, because you can see it in his eyes, like he's like almost like crazy, like he's like a psychopath, like he's like shooting the fire at him. He's like trying to legit hurt him. And the same thing with Katara when she throws like a water wave at Azula, and you think it's just gonna like push her back, but then they do the slow motion where it passes Azula's face and it actually cuts her hair, and it's like, okay, we're trying to kill one another. We're not like taking like prisoners here. And also I thought was like, again, back to creativity, there's a moment when they're shooting the fireballs, and like I think Aang is like blocking them. He blocks them with the airbending, but then he's like running in circles. And he just like throws like a whole like body formed air blast at Zuko, which I really like. What else? I mean, there's probably other things I can think of that was just so creative, but yeah, those fight scenes were, and they just topped each one. Like, you know, like I think someone mentioned the first fight between like Azula, Zuko, and Avatar, like that was really good, but they just keep topping one of them. But yeah, those were the moments that stood out to me.
They were extremely effective at showcasing just how many interesting ways you can bend these elements, and like they did something new. Like it wasn't just the same thing every fight. It like everything you mentioned. I forgot like when Aang literally creates like a air blast of his entire body that like hits Zuko. That is that I forgot about that. Or like, yeah, I mean they are trying to kill each other by that last episode. I mean, Katara tried to decapitate Azula with that ice, and she's like, I'm gonna or you know, dissect her or something. Like, I mean, you can see when it cuts her face. She's like, if that hit her, she would have been dead. But you got it. That's the stakes at this point. They're all trying to kill each other. So yeah, absolutely great examples.
And sorry, there was one more thing I wanted to mention, but when we were talking about Zuko, where I really liked his arc. The thing I really liked about his arc is that for the whole show, or not the whole show, but like up until when he starts to build like a rapport with Team Avatar, I really thought he was gonna like join the group. And so when he turns at the end, I'm like, God damn it, like why, like I kind of felt like that was gonna happen. I'm like, I know this there's a possibility that there's gonna happen, like, you know, a 60-40 50-50 chance, but when it happened, I was like, I was devastated. So
I think that's what made it so effective, is because we're just like, oh, of course he's going to join him now. He's going through all these lessons. He's hearing his uncle, and you know, he's went on this journey for so long, and to get to the point that he's at, of course he's going to. And then when he does, it's like, oh, no, we're like, hey, and we go, and when we catch our breath, when he looks at him, you just know it. It's like, oh, it hurts. I think what makes it such a tragic end to this season. Any other like scenes or moments from this entire season anyone wants to bring up or highlight? I have one other big one in my mind, but does anyone else want to go ahead? Go ahead, Chris.
Flashbacks to little baby Appa. That thing.
Yeah. Little fuzzball. He's adorable. Yeah, baby Appa's a little ton, and Aang's a little happy. That's a great one. Yeah, there's some cute fucking moments in this season too. Just adorable. Anyone else that wants to bring up like a moment in this season that really stuck with you?
I have a couple. First of all, I love Avatar Kyoshi for the short amount of time that we see her. Like, they spend that whole episode trying to prove her innocent, and then she's just like, actually, I did fucking kill him, and he fucking deserved it.
I love that. Very blunt.
And the other one that I think of is also from Tales of Ba Sing Se, where they show Momo's reaction to Appa's disappearance, which I had been thinking about ever since Appa had been taken, because I grew up around a lot of animals, and I've seen the way they can react when their companions just disappear and they don't know why. They can't communicate the way we do, so they can't ask what happened. And I just think that episode perfectly captures the type of behaviors that are exhibited when that happens, especially like when Momo curls up in that footprint, and like he knows that Appa was there, but he's like, oh, where is he now?
Yeah, you're right. That's a good. I forgot about that scene. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that little because he gets his own little short story in the Tales of Ba Sing Se. That's very cute. Are there any other ones, or are those the ones you want to mention?
Oh, those are the ones that stick out to me that we haven't mentioned before.
No, go on. No, I love that. There was one other one I wanted. One other scene, or excuse me, episode.
Sorry, I wanted to chime in because I was just thinking about this right now with Aang and Katara.
Go ahead.
The cave episode where they didn't know how to get out, but the cave was built for two lovers.
Mm-hmm.
And Katara had the bright idea, like, hey, maybe we could get out by kissing. And they just, Aang was like, me kissing you? Like, but you know that he was just downplaying the fact that he liked her. And
Oh, yeah.
then when the light was going out, I wish they would have showed the kissing, because that would have been such a great moment. But, you know, it's a kid show.
It's
We'll make you wait till the end.
Yeah.
They do confirm. I
They
think
kiss at the end.
they do confirm in season 3. I think that they did indeed kiss. That they did do that. I think so. That did happen. No, I mean that was very much for the all right, here all you contained shippers. And I'm like, yes. It's like, we have an episode where it was like, oh, and they gave it to us. And I love they had that one that, they have that, was secret tunnel chat. That's what I always sing. That's reference to that episode. So no, it's great. And I think I'm very much a proponent of the Aang and Katara relationship, because they're great for each other. I think they're great for each other. Anyone else had any other moments they wanted to mention before I mention one big one, or just one episode in general? Okay. The last thing I wanted to mention was the library episode, which is the one that comes before the desert. And this is when they learn about Sozin's Comet, which comes into play in season 3, where I think it's once every 100 years, the sun is blocked out on their world, on their planet, and no firebenders are not able to firebend at all. They're just non-benders. And so with that information, they're like, oh, fuck, we're going to plan a goddamn invasion. We just need to, that's why we got to go to the Earth King. That's why we got to get all the support and everything like that, which I think is really, really cool. But I also just love the inclusion. What's the owl's name? I'm forgetting the owl's name at the top of my head. I'm going to type an evil spirit, whatever he is. But I love that he's the librarian.
Like he who knows many things.
Yeah, he's the librarian. He's the librarian, basically.
Wan Shi Tong.
Thank you. And I mean, I because that's also, we could see a little bit more of the spirit world. But there's this one moment that has always stuck with me, and they have that one like archaeologist guy that goes with them, and he just stays there. He's just like, I'm fine. I'm surrounded by all my books. I've never been happier. And they just fucking leave him. He's like, we can't help you, dude. We can't help you. I mean, we're giving you the option. He's like, no, I'm good. And that always terrified me as a kid. I was like, oh fuck, that guy's dead. And we find out years later what happened to that guy, and I'm like, Jesus. I'm like, okay, it's not in Avatar the season 3, it's in Legend of Korra, I think, one of the books in there. I was like, oh wow, that guy got fucked. So that thing is always stuck with us, like, whatever happened to that guy? And they did answer that many years later. But yeah, I think overall, like I said at the top, just when we did our kind of general thoughts, I think we can all agree that this is definitely a superior season, a fantastic season. And sets up the stakes, perfectly sets up the stakes when we get into season 3. Fire, when we start to explore more of the Fire Nation culture, and this is when we get down to, the last chance that they have to defeat the Fire Lord and stop the Fire Nation from committing more genocide. And just like, how are these characters going to function as a group when you have a new person that joins them, and this person being a longtime enemy? Like, there's a lot of things that they set up, and I'm really excited to talk with you guys about them in the future. But gonna end it right here. I want to thank everyone for stopping by. Ace Rock, thank you again. It was a great Dune conversation I thought we had. Emily, thank you. Chris Ayers, thank you. Stefan, Jacob, Kazfe, me, M. Xavier, and Austin had to leave. You sent me a message, you had to leave, but it was a pleasure having you here too, Osnick. But thank you guys for listening as well. Hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you at the next one.